Okay?
Okay. All right. Well,
Ladies and gentlemen, professional narrator, Christy Lou.
this is from Calculated Encounters. Oh, I'm sorry. Calculated Risk. Calculated Encounters is out right now. It's just been released recently. This is Calculated Risk by L.G. Westlake. Again, another Dorinda Babcock cover. And this is a really exciting suspense book. And Destination Chorus in Wonders of the Galaxy was also suspense. And that's not really what I usually read. And so I'm reading these books and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have to set a 5-minute limit on this because it's just too intense. Of course, I'm teasing a little bit, but they're just so exciting and her characters are so compelling. And I introduced the other night on one of my videos, I introduced El Padrino, who is a very scary villain. Oh my goodness, I'm not comfortable at all with him. If he were in the room, I would be running faster than I was if I saw the mouse, but that is another matter. But El Padrino would not be welcome at the old Crooked Barn farm. I do not think he would be invited into this special sanctimonious place this is. Anyway, so I am going to introduce a marvelous character that Lori created named Weena. And Issa, who is her protagonist, Isabella Phillips, and she is a forensic detective, forensic accountant, and she is looking for information about the very suspicious death of her husband. She'd only been married like a year, and her husband turns up dead, and she's trying to figure out why, what happened. And she finds out that he owned this restaurant in Albuquerque, and they're from Houston. So it's a very mysterious and, quite a few question marks and exclamation points around this whole investigation. So I am going to start now. Issa has discovered that her late husband had owned a restaurant named India Magic that she knew nothing about. And she is now standing outside of this locked up place, and the broken door is being held together by duct tape, if that gives you any idea what this place is looking like. So here we go. This place is no longer open. Issa whirled around to find a woman with a face the color of New Mexico's endless desert. This gal had seen some interesting life, and the deep wrinkles in her cheeks proved it. Long gray braids cascaded down both shoulders, and she wore a multicolored skirt that reached her ankles, revealing army boots, one olive green and one black. She leaned against a cane carved with symbols and sayings. They left and took my job with them. A bottom tooth was missing. Issa pointed her thumb back at the door. You worked here? The woman nodded. 13 months ago. Maybe a fluke, but it looked like Issa's day was about to take a turn, and she would be able to fill a couple of cells in her spreadsheets with data. So, Issa bent toward the woman, shoving the note back into her purse. You knew the owner, Raj Khatari? The woman dropped her head. No, I worked for this man, but never knew him. There are many that never knew him either. The woman pointed at the sky. They'll come in his name, but he'll say he didn't know them. With that strange statement, she spat on the cement, leaving a puddle the color of dark tea. Issa's temples started to throb, but she probed anyway. I hope to talk to the owner and find out a little bit about who bought this place from him. He went back to India. Why you need to talk to him? You hungry? There's a taco stand there. She pointed her cane to the left. Issa's gaze followed the woman's cane. That's when she saw a man the size of her car leaving a bar, the place she'd flagged early in her research. It couldn't be a coincidence that Mac bought a building 1 block away from a barn known to attract drug dealers and buyers. The pit was called, appropriately, the Drake's Horn. The woman pulled her back into the moment. The pulled chipotle pork is good there, made with citrus. Pardon? Issa asked, watching the giant man mount his bike. Before he hired... Excuse me. Brett Allen Morgan, we need an edit. Before he fired the Harley up, he glanced her way. Did a double take that ended with a wicked stare. When the woman didn't respond, Issa looked back to see her walking away. Wait. Turning, the old gal eyed Isa suspiciously. Yes? I have a couple of questions. Isa adjusted her purse strap. Could I buy you a taco? No, taco place isn't open yet. It's morning. But I thought you said... Never mind. What did investigators do when they had a wacky witness? Well, then, could I ask you a couple of questions now? The woman shot a stream of tobacco at the cement again and squinted skyward. Isa tried another time. Just a couple of... Shish! She held up an age-spotted hand. I listen. Okay, maybe fluke encounter expressed the wrong idea. Maybe freak encounter described this interaction better. Still squinting, but with her eyes back on Isa, the woman spoke. I must go, but will stay to answer one question for you today. Because the sun has smiled down on a young woman staring wistfully at an empty cafe. One question? What kind of game was this? Isa tapped her foot. If she had merely one question, it had better be good. The woman folded her arms, satisfaction on her face, said she was rather pleased she had stumped Isa. This had to be the strangest conversation Isa had ever had, and she couldn't decide if she should ask if the woman knew the owners of the biker bar down the street, or inquire if she had information about local drug trafficking. Or maybe she should ask if the old woman had seen a man who looked like Mac in India Magic. She settled on none of these and went with an out-of-the-blue impulse instead. If I have but one question, then I will ask you this. She crossed her arms to mirror the old lady's stance. Where are you going? A flat smile stretched across the weathered face. Ah, daughter of the sun, you have asked wisely. The woman shuffled around to face Isa straight on again. I will give you my answer. She reached into her bottom lip and pulled out a small wad of spit-laden tobacco, then removed a snack-sized baggie from the leather pouch hung at her hip. She placed the lump into the plastic. In my long journey, I go to a place no one has seen. Tomorrow, I go to the laundromat to worship. The woman started to walk away, shoving the baggie back into her pouch. Isa's shoulders slumped. She started to count the woman's steps before the old gal stopped and looked back at her. But today, I go to the Dollar King down the street. The cane pointed north. Isn't that interesting? Isa said, her shoulders slipping back into place. I need to go to the Dollar King, too. Why not? Who couldn't find something they needed at the local catch-all? The woman's eyes sparkled. And this is the time that you wish to go? Why, yes, it is, Isa grinned. Do you wish to walk with me and ask me more of your questions? Indeed. Isa's smile widened. We pass a Herbert's Diner on the way. You look hungry. Oh, brother. No, I'm fine. I want to get to know the neighborhood. She shrugged. That's all. It is good that you come when I go anyway. The woman looked skyward again. Isa studied the sky too, shielding her eyes with her hand. The white-hot sun of the mile-high city was too intense to eyeball for long, and she looked back to the woman to find her staring into India Magic's window. She leaned toward Isa and whispered, You will do well to walk away with me. Excuse me? There is a spirit in that place. She gave a quick nod toward the windows. The hairs on Isa's arms sprang upright. I'm sorry? And he wishes to consume you.
That deserves the coyote.
And you're going. Wait. Why did you stop? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Because this book is out, and you may buy it, and it is wonderful.
Elk Lake Publishing.
Elk Lake Publishing. LG Westlake. You may have heard of Amazon. It is there.
That was phenomenal. Everybody give Christy a round of applause because she was
Thank
rehearsing
you,
hard
thank
earlier.
you, yeah.
Guys, hit the like button, hit the love button, share it out. Tell everybody the awesome performance that this girl just did. I am so proud of you. That was really good stuff.
Thank you.
But we got more important things to do now, don't we?
Yes, we have a very important person. I see her beautiful cherubic face. There she is. Give us a smile, LG Westlake. Welcome.
Go ahead and unmute your microphone there, young lady. We're ready for you. You are on live. Ladies and gentlemen, LG Westlake,
Yes.
the author of that wonderful passage you just heard. You're on, kids.
What's really funny, Brett, is that you suddenly picked up a Texas accent. That's how that's how good Christy
Yes, ma'am.
sounded.
Yes, ma'am.
With Issa.
For sure.
Oh, I just
What'd you do? What?
It's so contagious, isn't it? Texas.
just smacked my teeth.
Oh,
my
I've
God.
done that. That's okay.
Oh my gosh, Christy. Did you nail
Oh.
Issa? I was almost in
Oh,
tears.
thank you so much.
And I was like, it was just so subtle.
Oh,
I don't know, maybe for northern ears or East Coast ears, that wasn't subtle at all. But oh my goodness, girl, you can come and be an honorary member of Texas with me. I don't live there now, but once you belong there or born there, you're forever.
Oh, thank you so much. It's truly an honor. I'm always hesitant, because I don't want to insult anyone, and start pretending an accent, because I think that you can kind of cross the line, I want to thank Annette O'Hare, my friend Annette O'Hare. She taught me the accent. She is from Houston, so I met her at the family reunion 2 weeks ago, and 3 weeks ago now, I guess it was, and she gave me a sample. So thank you, Annette O'Hare. She is part of the family. She is part of the.
That's awesome.
family.
I haven't met Annette, but thank you, Annette, because Christy just nailed it. Nailed it.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored, truly. And I love
And
Alina.
to jump back and forth between the Navajo and the Texas was just amazing.
Oh,
I'm blown away.
Thank you. It's I enjoy it, and you know what? I probably shouldn't give this away, but I'm going to right now in case anybody can't stick around. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's all good.
One of the things that I do is I have my smartphone, and I will record a passage and then onto my voice memos app, and I'll just listen to it over and over and over again. And that's what I did with Annette also till I got her. It has to become part of my consciousness, and then once I have it, I have it. So use that voice memos app, my friends. So tell me how you created Awena, because I'm absolutely in love with this person, and it's really hard for me sometimes not to giggle. I mean, she goes from this deep, I go in my long journey, I go to a place no one has gone. Tomorrow I go to the laundromat to worship. I absolutely love the juxtaposition of the incredibly deep spiritual and then like this crazy mundane, and it's like, why would she worship at a laundromat? Oh, it's too much. How'd you come up with her?
Well, I have friends here. I live in New Mexico, and I have friends that are from the various tribes around, and I have a very good friend who is Navajo, and she and I were in a Bible study together. Actually, I was leading the Bible study, and she brought an incredible spiritual depth coming from a reservation where there are some dark spiritual things going on, but she was a Christian and had been for a long time, but she could just speak into things that the rest of us were going, wait, what? So I wanted to kind of capture my friends' wisdom that's out of the ordinary.
Yep.
And also with the book, I didn't want a standard churched Christian. I wanted us to look at Christ in different cultures. I work and have worked for years in missions, and I work for a ministry now and have served in Africa on the mission field. And different cultures worship the Lord differently. And during my time in Africa, one thing that Christ did is he kind of undid my American Christian culture, so to speak. And I realized a lot of what I believed was Christian was really American culture. And I just decided that Owena would be the perfect person to usher in a look from another angle at being a Christian and at Christ. And so when she begins to talk about the sun, like you read, and in the book it's the SUN, but Owena will explain later in the book and also in book 2 that the
I'm so glad she's
sun,
around for book 2.
SUN.
I'm so
sorry?
glad she's around for book 2. I didn't know.
Oh, Elena's not going anywhere.
Oh, I am glad because I love her.
And in book 3, she becomes a detective, and it's going to be hilarious.
Oh my goodness!
But I wanted to bring also a bit of humor to my Christian character, because Issa is a newish believer. She was saved at an early age, but she has not been to church. She's not been discipled. And so I wanted Owena to have this opportunity to speak into Issa, and they are going to be friends for life.
And, when she gets abducted, when Issa's abducted, and Owena is basically like, you take my girl, you take me too. I love that. This teeny, I picture her to be about 80 pounds, and holding her cane, but she's like, you you take her, you take me, and you better watch your back. I just love it. I love it. And I have to ask go ahead.
I was going to say, isn't that always the way, though? Because she's an older woman, right? And it's the older women that are the real warriors, because they've just been through so much life. They're like, I don't care, pal guy.
Exactly. And when I think about, though, what I want to ask this too. I found this to be very interesting because I am not a numbers person. I am not a math person. And when she is abducted and she's counting to try to figure out how many miles away she is, and she's, she counts footsteps, she counts different things to sort of, it's like a therapeutic technique, isn't it?
Yes. She's also OCD.
Okay.
And from in the book, counting and math, she goes through some childhood trauma.
Yes.
And through that, she becomes kind of OCD about some things. And doing mathematics was a calming exercise for her. And so I had to do some research, because let me just say this, I am not a super smart person. Math was my worst subject in school. It was just horrible, and in college. And the way that we came up with this forensic accountant is, at the time I had an agent, a writer's agent, and I had sent him this idea with Issa being with the FBI, and he yawned and he said, "How boring is that?" He said, "Could you please come up with a fresh angle besides the FBI?" And I had watched, I think it was Dateline, and had heard the word forensic accountant. And so I went and looked it up, and it's just really an accountant who testifies in trials, and they do a lot of white collar crime investigations. And a lot of the bigger police departments have them, and the FBI has them too. And I thought, oh, this would really be different. But what am I going to do? Because I got 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4, and that's as far as I can go. And so I had to do a lot of research, so much research in this book, and find out, and all of that calculation in those miles to the mountains in New Mexico where they take her. I couldn't repeat it for you right now, but I actually learned how to do that from online stalking FBI agents and people who put that information out there. I couldn't write a book if it wasn't for the internet.
I know.
I think about people in the old days who wrote and couldn't just Google something and get information. So thank you, Lord, for the internet. But all that calculation is really used if you're an undercover agent. And Travis, is somewhere on here, I
Yes,
think.
he's
He
on.
could probably speak to some of this
He
stuff.
probably
He probably has a
could.
lot to say.
He probably could if he's allowed to. I don't know if he's allowed to, but yeah. Well, I just found that to be so intriguing because, I'm not a numbers person, I'm not a math person. And, it's always cool to learn things through a novel because it's less threatening than, handing somebody okay, you're going to learn now, read this book, and learn about becoming a forensic detective or whatever. And you're like, I don't want to read about this, but if you read it in a novel, it's less threatening.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And, also wanted to make her I wanted Issa to be an average person, and I needed to put her in law enforcement
mhm,
of some kind so that it would make sense that she would understand some basis of investigations or
yeah,
have just enough information to become dangerous, which you saw in the book. She becomes very dangerous to her own partner.
yeah,
But I just needed her to be not a Marvel superhero
yeah.
and someone that everyone could identify. And I thought, an accountant really is a pretty normal baseline type personality.
Mm,
And the fact that she's in the Houston police force, she has some information about detective type things, even though, and we looked this up and I looked this up as well, is the accountants in the Houston police force do not carry guns. And so she just isn't like a Marvel character. My daughter told me that the thing that she loves about Issa the most is that she's bumbling in her role.
yeah.
When she's kidnapped and she's got to figure some things out, she makes a lot of bumbles, but she reacts like a woman. And that's one thing that my daughter and I had discussed when I was creating this book and this character is this gal needs to be just like you, Christy, and just like many of the readers, and not a woman with muscles or that thinks like a man. She has to think like a woman, but she's still got to be our heroine.
Yeah.
And so somehow the accountant just was able to pull all that together.
And she doesn't think like a child either. She doesn't think like a
No,
victim. Not that,
no, no,
she
she's got a
thinks,
hot temper.
oh yeah, I love the jujitsu. I love that she thinks she can take down these guys with a jujitsu kick. I mean, maybe there are some who can, but I love when Jay, aka, is it Coyote or Coyote? How would you pronounce it?
Coyote,
All right, Coyote.
coyote.
I love when he's like, "You're not as tough as you think."
Yeah, I love how he just is almost annoyed with
Yes,
her, or he is annoyed.
totally.
But there's a sense of chuckle and humor, like
Mm-hmm.
who does she think she is?
Yep.
And she's really screwing up my job here and my gig. But who does she think she is? But I wanted her to be so determined but bumbling at the same
Mm-hmm.
time that because I don't know about you, but I identify with that
Mm-hmm.
because I can go into something so headstrong
Mm-hmm.
and feeling like I can kick these doors down,
Mm-hmm.
and I kick down doors that were never meant to be opened. I create um, chaos when I think I'm doing something good for the Lord, and I just needed someone to be in that position, and it all turned out okay because I'm still waiting to see if all my chaos turns out okay.
Mm-hmm.
I because I don't know yet. We're still working on that.
Mm-hmm.
You get choked up on that one.
A little bit.
Aw.
Oh,
You
oh,
choked her.
Sorry.
You choked her up. You
they
touched her.
love me so much. You are like the most tender feeling human I know.
She
That's
sure
why I
is.
love you so much.
Thank you.
And that's why you pull off the audio like you do, because you internalize it.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if anybody out there. I know some of you did. the passage that I read from Erica Marie Hogan's Winter Queen the other night about how if Mireille had been raised a spoiled princess, that she would never have known the strong woman that she is inside, and would never have been able to demonstrate who she really is. And you know, I think in a way, you know, it's awful when you're going through struggles, and you know, and as somebody who follows Jesus, it's you know, even when you know he's there with you, you're still in pain. But it's like, you know, you look back and you do see how you've been transformed, and how the changes are not transforming just in your life, but also transforming other lives. And you know, the idea of everything's going to be okay, you know, is something I think that a lot of people seek in a book. And when we are going through those challenges, you know, and I heard somebody say, and it's become cliche, but the first time you hear it, it isn't. You're either going into a storm or coming out of one. Is that the way it goes?
I think so.
I think I've heard.
You're either going into a storm, in the middle of a storm, or
Yeah.
coming out of a storm.
Yeah. And you know, there's just, I mean, this is not the place, but there's I've been through things, and it's just a wonderful thing when somebody can create a story that's like that. And you know, the best stories come from some degree of truth and some degree of experience. And I have to ask, El Padrino, he is so malevolent, and he is so evil. You know, how do you do research on a character like that? Wondering if I lost you there.
Can you still hear us?
I don't think she can.
Can you still hear us?
Because if she could, that would have definitely warranted a response.
Yeah.
Miss Lori, I think we lost you. Well, I can tell another story if you want to. I can tell my second mouse story.
Hold on a minute. I think my computer's taking a dump.
Uh-oh.
It's okay.
Do you want to use mine?
Hold on. No.
Okay.
No. Just hang tight. All right. Technical difficulties. We'll get her back in a second. I'm going to message her and tell her to hold on. And I'm going to bring you back on right now, okay? And you tell your story.
Okay. Well, I as an interlude, we'll have some little music in the background. You pretend we have music, and so when I was doing Wonders of the Galaxy this fall, when I was coming through there, I came out. You have to do what's called the first 15 minutes. You have to have an audio checkpoint with ACX, and so if your first 15 minutes is not approved by the author, you're not supposed to continue doing the book. I mean, that makes sense, right? So you don't want to produce an 8-hour book and they hate it. You want that first 15 minutes approved. So I came out here to Studio A at the old Crooked Barn Farm, and I came in here and I'm getting myself set up, and I had a real time crunch. I had one afternoon to do this. That was all I had. And I come out here and I go to sit down in this chair right here, and I look and I see a mouse, and it is like crouched down, stock still, looking right at me.
By the way, there was lots of girls in there going, "Yeah, Chris, yeah." And your mom says that you got the hatred of mice from her.
That's right.
And somebody else. I'll have to go back and read it again. But yeah, all the girls in there were going, "Yeah, Christy, we're with you, girl."
Good. I'm glad, because I hate them. Get
Lori,
me
we're
50
gonna get,
cats, please.
Hold on one second. Hold your story.
Okay.
Lori, I'm talking to you. I'm working on getting you back up. Use the second link. We'll pull you back in if you can hear me. I'm going to also private message you. So, all right, back to you, girl.
Okay, so I come in here and I sit down, and you know, it's a process. You get your laptop out, you get it plugged in, you get your water bottle, you get your teacup set up, you get your manuscript out if you have a paper one that day, and you're getting everything together and all this, you know. And I see this mouse and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. This is the only day I have. Is it alive? Is it dead? What is happening here? And I kind of like pushed my foot out a little bit, like, just, is he going to move, or is he, what? And he's still frozen, and he's just sitting here staring, but his eyes were like big and glassy, like like he was just looking at me
Big
like,
and glassy?
yes, they were huge, and they were like looking at me, and I was like, I'm out. So I go running out of here, and I go flying right into Brett's kitchen, and I'm like, there's a mouse up there. I don't want to go out there. I have to do it today. What am I to do? Blah, blah, blah. And he comes and he's like, all
And
right.
of course, I go like this. Come on, man, it's a mouse.
No, he didn't. He was like, all right, let's go. And he walked me out here, and he's like, I think it's dead, but let's just make sure. So he goes over, and he sometimes uses the barn as his rehearsal stage for his live shows. And also, he has used it to do P90X workouts before. And so there were some old towels that he had used. And so he came in with a towel, and he kind of walked up to it. Thing was dead. He grabbed it, and he tossed it outside. But you know what Brett Allen Morgan did not do? He did not throw the dead mouse at me. He did not try to pretend that it was alive and do one of these, type things. Nope. He just took it outside and disposed of it somewhere that I don't know where, and I'm perfectly happy with that. But yes, more traps went out, and I believe I had more delightful pictures of executed rodents. But hey, I'm cool with that. If you're cool with that, I have no problem seeing the pictures and knowing I'm safe out here in the barn. But yeah, when you're in the studio, you just never know what's going to happen. And something as simple as that can make or break your day. And I'll tell you what, flies and Asian beetles and stink bugs, they can all be quite the problem as well. Because if you hear
It's
anything,
an old barn, dude. What do you want?
But this can be in any studio. I've worked in 3, and you hear a fly, that's a deal breaker. You've got to re-record that whole section because people are going to hear them. What in the world is going on? There's no flies in, and you really, that's just shoddy work. So yeah, there's a lot to think of.
I think I have her back. Lori, can you hear us now? Can you hear us?
I think she still can't.
Oh, that's because I have my microphone off. There, can you hear us now?
Yay, she's back.
Too many buttons to press, man.
Yes, she's
All right.
back.
You have to turn your microphone on. You have to turn your microphone on. Your microphone's muted in the Zoom meeting. Yeah.
There we go.
All right, we're
Yay,
back.
we are
Yay.
back.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Yay! Sorry, I had to do a little round of tech champion.
Did you guys hear me say, Lord, what is going on here?
Nope.
No, we
No,
missed
I was
that.
muted. Thank you.
We didn't. Nope.
Did you hear Christy's
Okay.
comment about what was that?
Well, my question was, how do you do research on somebody like El Padrino? I mean, this is an evil, malevolent man.
Christy, I spend hours and hours researching and looking at the Mexican cartel, and with the view of book 2 and knowing that my villain was going to make appearances in book 2, or his wife would, I needed to be able to tie everything to another country. And I just spend a whole lot of time on the front end online and looking articles up, taking notes. Then as I get into the book, if there is a movement in one direction or another and I need to add information, I do. But I wanted, I'm probably gonna make you cry again, but I wanted to create a drug lord with, this evil heart, but also show how gang members become entailed in the cartel and how they become so loyal to a cartel leader, and that a cartel leader can even create a religion, a cultish religion, so that when you do bad things, there is an excuse for it. And the reason that this was so important to me is because my oldest son is a heroin addict and has been since he was 18 years old, and he's 35 now. And we have been through a life of hell. And I wanted to show how awful The cartel is, because here in Albuquerque, we are the #1 heroin avenues from Mexico. We have more heroin addicts here in New Mexico than any other state in the country, more deaths from heroin overdoses. The gang activity here is awful. And I wanted, and it was just perfect that we had lived here. And this is where a large amount of the Mexican cartel come across the border and their activities are. And it was just like the perfect storm for me to be able to make Issa's husband, involved with, kind of a dirty cop that had gotten involved with the cartel, and go in deep, and then even show some lovable characters, because when my son is in and out of rehabs, or when he's in a good place, he actually meets people and other men and women that are victims, and they've come from a really rough background, and he tells us about those. And it's just a really awful, evil industry, and it's why I look forward to Jesus coming back every single day of my life.
It's interesting, though, don't you think? I don't know if you know Joyce Ellis or not, but I met her at Right to Publish in 2007, and she's a really good nonfiction writer, and good friends with Lynn Johnson, who runs Right to Publish. And she said that she believes writers have more pain, they experience more pain than any other career, because God wants us to use that to create stories and characters that will reach people. And personally, I know one person who received Jesus as a result of reading a book, and you'll never guess what book it was. The Stand by Stephen King. The Stand by Stephen King. And she is a pastor. And so, she became a pastor in her, I believe it was her second career, and it was the elderly lady in that story who is so fervent in her faith, and she reached, this character in Stephen King's book reached her. I mean, there are people who will never pick up a Bible who will not be intimidated by this cover, though. And if they can find God in it, then he's not intimidating anymore. I mean, how could this be an intimidating cover? You know what I mean? But there are stories. I mean, your story, Destination Cars, and the way you portrayed Omni. Now, Omni is Jesus. I'm correct in saying that?
Correct.
Yeah. And I love the name, of course, all. And
well, I love. Oh my goodness, I think we're frozen again. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. We can hear you.
But I absolutely love allegory.
Yes.
I do not know what's going on.
We can hear you. Everything's good.
Yeah, everything's good.
We can hear you, Lori.
We're good.
You're good.
Keep going.
Keep going. We can hear you. She can't hear us.
No, that's not on our end.
Okay. Well, anyhow, I'll talk a little bit about Destination Cars. It is a wonderful short story, and it's set on a ship in space, and Mona P is the main character's name, and Mona P is in the media, and it's like a really hardcore communist type environment. They're screened, and then they're put into a job that the culture, the government. Oh, okay. The government feels is the best fit. And she's kind of a troublemaker. She doesn't want to follow all these rules. And she gets demerits. And once you have 3, you're supposed to be, there's some kind of disciplinary system. And she had 5. And so she gets put in solitary confinement. And she finds out that they're going to basically take her off the ship and send her to an exiled planet. They've had enough of her. And so she's kind of at rock bottom, and her only real friend on the entire ship is a guy named Derek. And there's kind of some tension between them, and they're not sure what each isn't sure what the other thinks of them. And he tells her that he has arranged transport well, she had arranged transport to leave the ship. She had arranged it, and he's going to come with her, and they're going to bring another woman named Tish along. She's like an alien or something like that. She's not the same species, I guess, but the heart hammering emotion of it and the energy of that story was so intoxicating to me that it was like, oh my gosh, I have to get finished narrating the story because it is so intense. I just want it done. And Omni though is Jesus, and he is he has, I don't know, would you use the word telepathy? I guess he can read thoughts,
Mhm.
and then he communicates
Mhm.
without speaking. And but what I loved the most about Omni was that he was always smiling, and there was always like a bit of a chuckle behind what he was observing. That to me, if I were somebody who was questioning, who was struggling, who wasn't quite sure, you might not want to pick up a black leather Holy Bible, but you might very well pick up, a book with an astronaut sitting on the edge of a cliff, or and find out about a Omni, and then start thinking about that. And if Jesus always had a smile and a chuckle, how can that be intimidating? So well done, LG Westlake.
Thank you. Thank you. The thing about the Wonders of the Galaxy, when Elklake put that together and asked for short stories, I jumped on it, even though suspense is my genre. I had written an allegory in 2010 through another publishing company, and it won one of the top 10 books of the year, and it was hand carried. Get this, hand carried to Barnes and Noble,
Nice.
and they put it on their shelves. So I'm like among the 1% of authors that make a Barnes and Noble hard copy shelf. The book did not do well though, because I was in a learning curve there. It was allegory, pure allegory, and written for middle-aged women. Middle-aged women don't read allegory. And so, but what I learned through the book is that I just love telling stories, and that's what Jesus did. And we had come out of Africa, having our own pain and struggles. But what I learned living in an oral culture is people respond to stories. And as you said so perfectly earlier, that someone who won't pick up a Bible and read it will read a story. And if we can present the story of Christ in allegory and relate it to different characters and things other than what these predetermined ideas that they've had about the Word of God, I really feel like we can hit the mark and we can play on their imaginations. And the Lord used his imagination, and he gave each of us one. And so I loved writing Destination Karis. I loved it so much because it's just free flow. What do I know about Jesus, and how can I tell his story differently?
Yeah. It was, what was so great about it is it was just the lost sheep, right? Wasn't that the parable that you did, the lost sheep?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not a long story.
Yes. And my main character, yeah, she was our. You froze again. Wait, there you are.
Yeah.
Am I here?
Something's being weird tonight. It's at northwestern Pennsylvania air.
Uh, well, I show I've got full bars, but we do have a sandstorm. So that could be messing with my internet, and I
Could be,
apologize
yeah.
for that.
It's so hard to tell whether it's one end or the other, I think
Yeah.
tracking down a tech issue is like, I don't know, it's like chasing gnats with a butterfly net. Just can't do it.
Well, and we're all used to Zoom calls. We all log off, we log back in. I am on probably 3 Zoom calls a day at work, and you just, okay, we got to go back and log back in.
Yeah, we're not the only ones. Everybody. Well, the cool thing is everybody understands that. It's like text messaging. You used to be mortified if you sent a text message with a bunch of jumble that you didn't proofread properly. Now it's just like the normal thing.
Oh, I don't know
Right.
about that.
Hey,
I
do you?
hate it.
I'm sorry, Christy, I cut you off. but I could ramble on about my characters and get quite boring according to my husband. So you asked me the interesting questions.
Well, you hit on, I wanted to ask, like what inspired your story. You hit that one in your son, and, how you create your characters. We got that with the research. I guess the only other question I had was, who is your target audience for the calculated series? I mean, who are you looking to reach?
Well, from a purely business standpoint, the number one buyer of Christian stories is the woman from the age of 35 to 55. And she's affectionately labeled Sally. And she reads to escape. The Christian woman who is mature in the word is not necessarily, if she's looking to grow spiritually or personal growth, she's going to gravitate to the books about the Bible, study books and growth books. I'm trying to think of an example. What is the biggest seller right now is, well, it'll come to me. But knowing that was the biggest audience, I really challenged myself. How could I intrigue Sally? Because Sally is old enough to have issues in her life and probably facing more issues with grown children, grandchildren, and even our older years. And how can I inspire her to continue in all of these challenges as we look back at life and we go, I wish I'd known this then. How can I inspire her to be brave and be a hero and be like Issa? Perfectly normal, perfectly everyday Texas accountant girl, but taking on something that is so beyond her. And that is my platform. I want to inspire women to be brave. Now, the blessing here is that several men I've picked up male readers, and it's been quite the surprise in this series because I was really going for the female, but I guess I've got enough, like you say, edge of your seat type stuff that there are some men that are interested. But that is why I do what I do. I want to inspire people to do brave things for the Lord.
Well, I can see how men would be drawn to it, though. This is not a chick book. This is not in any way, to me, I didn't feel in any way that these characters were pulling at my heartstrings in a sappy way. For me, it was like, they could die at any second, and how much did Lori make me care about him? And you care about Issa from the very beginning. You're like, wait a minute, she's only been married a year and her husband's dead already, but hang on now, they weren't that happy together. And now wait a minute, what's this note? And of course, we who know the word, we know the Bible, and so there's nothing hidden that will not be revealed when she finds that note. I know it's a Bible verse, but she doesn't know, and I thought that was pretty cool.
She doesn't.
I can see how male readers would be drawn to her and to this story, and it is really exciting, and I'm really glad that you're doing a series with it, because these characters are so well drawn and so compelling. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I just draw on people I know, and I tell people all the time, be careful. I'm a writer. You might show up in one of my books.
You got it.
That's a good one.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. You might be using your voice memos app too. I've always heard eavesdropping.
You better be nice to me.
Good stuff. I love it.
That'd be a good T-shirt. Be nice to me. I'm a writer.
Absolutely. You bet. You bet. Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Well, so how can people connect with you, and where can they buy your books?
Amazon, of course. And here's another subject, okay? I challenge you guys at some point in the future, we all need to talk about what Amazon has done to the mom and pop bookstore.
Yeah.
You know, and so now we're all at Amazon's mercy. And but Amazon, the calculated series is on there. It's under LG Westlake, and I wanted to use LG instead of Laurie, just in case I might have male readers. It worked. We fooled them.
Good.
And by the way, to any potential male readers, there's not a lot of romance here, so I'm not sucking you
No,
in
ma'am.
and going to change on you.
No.
I just cannot. You know what? Let me just tell you guys, this is hilarious. So when I was writing samples to try to get picked up by a publishing company, I was in a critique group with a couple of Bethany writers, but they were both romance writers. And they were like, Laurie, you're going to have these characters kiss. And I was like, ugh, I wanted to kill him. And they were like, no, you're gonna have to, there's got to be some goosebumps, there's got to be some heart fluttering, you know, you're gonna have to create a little bit of romance. And so I was struggling. I would come back to our critique group with my written out romance scene, and they would just die laughing. And they would say things like, they feel so sad for my husband. But finally, one of them, who is currently with Bethany, she said, okay, here's my book, here are the pages. I want you to go put your characters' names and my characters' names, and I want you to copy the scene, and I want you to start getting the idea of what it takes for two people to kiss. And that is literally what I did.
Oh my
That is literally what I did.
Oh.
But you know what? Here's the great thing is she called me later because she had a scary guy that was stalking a girl in one of her books, in one of her series. And she called me and she goes, okay, I really cannot be a mean person. And your head is so demented. Could you write this scene? I was like, ooh, I love this. So the guy was in the car and he was hiding, he was stalking in a side street, and she wanted him to do something in the car that we could feel his anger and his anxiety for this woman, that as she unlocked the door. And I was like, oh, he puts his fingertips around the steering wheel and he presses in to the plush leather, imagining his hands around her throat. And she wrote me back, she goes, you're just evil. I can write bad guys. I don't know what to tell you. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you know, we use the expression, you know, sitting on the edge of your seat, and I'll use that. But in reality, for me, because I have to have my room, my studio soundproof, I have a really soft plush blanket over top of my desk. And when I get stressed, I'll hold on to the blanket. So, you know, you're a grip the blanket kind of writer, Lori. You're killing me here.
Blesses me so much. Yeah, it's terrible when people write me and say, I've lost sleep over your books. And yeah, and I'm like, oh yes.
Good for you. That's the best compliment a writer can get. That's absolutely true. And if you have Bethany authors that are saying, Lori, can you help me? You're doing all right, girl. You're doing all right. Bethany's got.
Well, at least in the evil part, I'm doing really good. I can't write a romantic scene for the life of me, but I can kill someone.
You know, not every person is looking for a romance story, and there are a lot of seasons in life where you don't want that. You don't want to read about that because it's not where you are, and it might even be, you know, I'm done. I'm gonna go on a Netflix binge, and if there isn't one, then maybe you'll just keep reading. You know.
That scared me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was over here doing something real technical, and I hear this boom, like,
the whole barn just exploded.
Anyway, back to regularly scheduled. Hey, I put out on the comments that people should start sending questions for the Q&A that we're going to be rolling into pretty soon. So
yes, please do.
Start happening,
that's the end of my set of questions. Lori, is there anything you wanted to add?
Well, I'm a girlfriend who has read the books she's like, oh, if you have the chance to say this is a shout out to Lynn, but she was like, you must, she said herself, she felt like praying for the characters, and she was like, I bet you feel compelled to do that, and and she said, even how when you're dealing with an evil character like and you read him so beautiful, and anyone who didn't see that, go look on Facebook and Christy's feed where she reads a scene from El Padrino, my antagonist. And she said, that must be hard. And I went, no, it's really not, because I know redemption is coming in just 2 or 3 pages, in the pages that are coming. So I can write really hard things without them, or really graphic scenes without them bothering me, because I already know Jesus wins.
That's right.
Praise God.
Yeah, amen.
Jesus wins.
Absolutely. Amen. Absolutely.
Amen.
Yeah. Wow.
So, okay.
Thank you, Lori. It's
Can
been
you
a
hang around
joy.
for a few
Yes,
minutes for?
yes.
I don't have any yet, but
Okay.
I have one.
You go for it, Brett
I
Allen
have
Morgan.
one.
Okay.
You asked the question.
Ah,
I've gotta
wrong
get this
thing.
drink.
Got to go that way. Hey, hi. Good to see you again. Lori, can you hear me?
Oh, for Pete's sake.
I can.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Can you hear me?
Don't scare me like that. Hey,
Oh,
I have a
shoot.
question for you. What?
You froze again.
No, I didn't. Did I? I know what it is. I keep bumping the camera.
You really think it's that?
I know what it is. Yeah, I do this all the time.
Uh,
This is I do this when I do lessons.
okay.
Stand by. I'll be
Stand
back.
by. We shall
Stand by,
return.
we shall
We'll
return.
be here. Yes.
And meanwhile, while I'm bringing her back, let's you and I chat.
Okay.
So what did you like the best about that?
About the interview, or
Yes, about the interview.
Well, I really like that she is so willing to talk about things that are difficult and challenging in her life. I mean, to have a son that's struggling with addiction, that has to be really
she and I
hard.
talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the issue was, but she was asking me a lot about my life, and I told her some of the triumphs that I've had
Yeah.
from the struggles.
Right.
And,
yes.
And she alluded that she had some issues
Yeah.
with that going on. And, you don't pry, but
No.
now I know a little bit more. I can definitely understand where she was coming from for sure.
And I really do think, though, that
pull her back in here in a second.
storytellers have to go through a whole lot, and Brett's a storyteller, too. He's a songwriter. And, as I said, I'm a writer. And and a narrator, and when you tell stories, if you have a background of something that's been excruciating in your life, it's hard not to find a way to create and to use that in a way that hopefully will help other people. And so, kudos, Lori, for having the courage to write about cartels and drug lords and things of that ilk when, it's
Okay.
affected you so much.
So I think I have her back on. Let me see if I can pull her camera back up. All right. Can you hear us, Lori?
I can, and I'm so sorry that I just
No, it's not
log
your-
out and try to log back in.
No, it's not your fault. I know what happened. I to avoid all sorts of technical mumbo jumbo, my USB cable that the camera that you're watching us in for your Zoom and it's picking up the audio so you can hear us. If I bump that, the computer doesn't like it. It happens to me all the time when I'm teaching music online, and I bet I just did it again because I keep grabbing the microphone. Am I still on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Woo!
Back
Yes,
up.
sir.
Well, no, it's me. It's me doing this.
We're going to put you in the corner.
No, I keep grabbing the microphone because it's just this thing. Anyway, I have a question. Let me try to ask it.
Okay.
If somebody at any point in their life, young, middle-aged, or old, came up to you and said, Lori, I just love your stuff, and it really has inspired me to make some changes in my life, and I have not followed through on a long life dream that I've had since I was little to be a novelist and to write and get a novel published. What would be your biggest piece of advice you would give to them?
You know what? This is a common question. I think there's a story in all of us. I really do. Jesus told stories, and he gave us this imagination. I believe everybody's got a book. I believe every one of us has a book inside of us. And it's just crazy. Once people find out that you've written, they go, oh, I want to write just the very thing that you said. And my number one advice is thick skin.
Yeah.
Go to conferences and learn the craft, and never give up.
Yeah.
And, when you first start out, and the thick skin, seek out people to critique your work. Join a critique group. Like I was with these Bethany writers, and I had them rolling because my stuff was so amateurish. But man, they beat me up. And, I would go home in tears sometimes, but I was
because when
so determined.
When you are creating and you throw that out there for folks, I know for myself being a songwriter and having written many, many songs and having, a couple albums out and that kind of thing, I think, it takes a lot of courage just to show that to somebody, let alone release it to the world, or heaven forbid, give it to somebody to critique. Because you're so close to it. It's so personal.
That's right.
But now we're running out of time. We have 10 minutes left.
Oh, goodness.
But that's okay.
But you know what? I said this last week when I was on with Will Inman. We did his Travis W. Inman. Personally, I think that coming into narration with a background as a writer was a boon because I'm used to rejection, right?
Yeah.
I think it just makes you kind of like, okay, so what? I got 25 rejections for auditions, and then I got a 2-book contract. But I will say, and I said this last week, Brett was, I'd be kind of discouraged for a minute, and he'd be like, listen, you're one step closer
3
to
feet from
an
gold,
acceptance.
baby. 3 feet
yes,
from
3
gold.
feet from gold.
We used
So
to say that all the time. 3 feet
But
from
it's
gold. Are you
true.
familiar with that story, Lori? The meme? 3 feet from gold?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it-
Yeah.
No,
anybody
wait.
who's
No.
on a
Tell me.
path- Yeah. Anybody who's on a path knows the 3 feet from gold meme or the 3 feet from gold story. It's not even really a story. It's just, you know it though, right?
yeah, she said she did.
Oh,
yes.
okay, cool.
No.
Oh, she said no. She doesn't know.
Oh, I thought she did. Tell it, Brett.
No. Well,
You can tell
I thought you were asking me if I knew what it meant.
Oh.
And I know what it means to be 3 foot from gold because I think that's when they punt.
No,
I don't know.
Gold.
Not from
Not
gold.
Not
Gold.
from the gold, but
Gold.
from gold.
Yes.
Ah!
Could you use your Texas accents, please?
Well, now I'm telling you, you got to be 3 feet from gold. Okay? And once you get down there 3 feet from gold,
Oh,
then
Brett.
you don't go home. You
Oh.
get your axe out and you get to picking.
Oh,
see what I'm
she's
saying?
gonna get the axe out coming after you
Come
for
on
that
now.
accent.
I can do better now. But anyway, let's not waste time because we're going to lose her in a minute.
Do we
All
have
right.
any questions?
There is
Anybody
a
ask any
meme.
question?
I gotta finish this. No, there's no questions yet.
Okay.
We have a meme. There's a meme. I got to get it so we can just show it. That way I don't have to keep explaining it. But there's a meme and it's split in two. There's a picture on the top and there's a picture on the bottom. On the picture on the top, there's a guy who has obviously tunneled his way through a tunnel, mining with a pickaxe,
Yeah.
and he strikes gold. And then there's a guy below him that's tunneling away, and he is 3 feet from making it to the gold vein, but he has already turned around, has his axe on his shoulder, or his pickaxe on his shoulder with a very defeated, hunched over look, and he's given up and going home.
Yeah.
And all he had to do was dig 3 more feet. And how many times when we've wanted to do something, when we started something, and it starts getting difficult, whether it's a physical fitness goal, a creative goal, a change in career, a family, whatever, we get 3 feet from gold. I know I've done it several times. And you turn around and you go, and then when you get back home, it stinks. So that's the 3 feet from gold.
Yeah. That's very picturesque. It is very picturesque. And wouldn't we just die if we get, to the next phase, I like to call it, to the next kingdom, and the Lord goes, so close, so close.
You know what? I always
Yeah,
have.
just never.
You know what keeps me going? You know what keeps me going? I have this
What?
vision in my head when I want to give up on something. I have my vision in in my head of me getting to the judgment table, and there's a council there, whatever, and the head counsel is sitting there tapping his fingers, on the table, on the desk, looking at me with this scowl over his glasses, and they all go, "Well, what happened?" And what do you mean? Well, what, you had all these dreams. Why didn't you accomplish them? Well, and I start throwing my excuses. No. Everything was laid out for you. All you had to do was supply faith and some action. That's all you had to do. Everything was laid for you. So what happened? Well, and then I get the Charlie Brown thing. Remember Charlie Brown when the teacher would start quizzing him? Blah, 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 blah. Well, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's, and that motivates me to go, man. Just go.
I can't even imagine being so close and not grabbing it. And I think that never give up. If there's anybody out there, if you're going for something at all, if you're going to go down in flames.
Yeah, man.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
Don't disappear. Go down in flames. But can I just take 1 minute and do a little bit of promoting on another side of my website?
Yes. Christy, what do you think?
Okay,
Should we
I'm
let
an
her?
Yes.
oh, thank you. I am like a prophecy. I'm not a nutcase or a conspiracy theorist, but because of the tragedies in my life, I look forward to Jesus coming back. I really, really do. And I look forward to a perfect reign under a perfect king, like Omni. And so I do a couple of blogs a month and kind of tie in some of the signs of the times. And so if you're not into fiction, you might be into the blogs. And in August, I have my first Bible study being published, and it's called God's Will Unraveling the Mystery. And we call them Bible briefs. It's not a 6 to 8 week study that you have to do something every day. It's do on your own time, in your own way, but the scriptures are there, the commentary is there, and Elk Lake is publishing it again. Go Elk Lake. I'm so excited. Okay, I'm done. I love y'all.
And I think you should also talk about Take the Hill on Facebook. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful tool.
What?
Yes.
Take the Hill.
Oh, we're going to run out of time, Brent, and you're going to cut me off.
I'm not. Whoa. I'm not cutting you off. Zoom is cutting you off. Yeah. Let's say goodbye to Lori.
Okay, we'll Take the Hill on Facebook. Look it up. Join it. Thank you, Lori. Thank you.
Dorinda says, Lori, I was mad for 3 days after I got the first edits on my first book. But over the years, I've had grown thick skin. So there you go.
Thanks, Lori.
Dorinda, she's my hero.
Oh, Dorinda's awesome, and I'm going to be talking to her next week.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much.
Dorinda did this.
We'll see you next time.
Yes. Oh, that was fun. Hug.